Hello, I'm Dr. Lisa Belisle, and you are listening to or watching Radio Maine. Today I have with me in the studio two of my favorite guests, Shark and Newt. These are the individuals the individual doggies responsible for inspiring me creatively on a daily basis. And today's kind of a different episode because it's really just Shark and Newt and I. And if Shark decides she doesn't want to be part of this episode, then she'll jump down and she won't even be part of it anymore. What I wanted to talk about was really gratitude. For the last year, you have allowed me to come into your life along with my friends who have been primarily artists or other creative sorts from the Portland Art Gallery and talk to you about art, creativity, resilience, shared humanity, and just a whole range of things that I think it's really important for us all to have access to. It's been interesting to be part of the Radio Maine experience over the last year because, of course, as all of us understand, we've also been dealing with the pandemic and other national and international things that are sometimes deeply troubling, sometimes extremely interesting, and always just providing us with sources of things to ponder more deeply. In my case, one of the things that I've continued to ponder very deeply is an ongoing love of learning. And the good thing about Radio Maine for me is, as a doctor, I get to explore something that a lot of doctors don't have the chance to explore, and that is really visual art. I didn't learn a lot about visual art when I was getting my education, as you might imagine. Mostly I was focused on things like biology, chemistry, physics. Although kind of on the side, I also had an ongoing love of words and a fair amount of time spent on English literature and music and other types of liberal art courses that were offered at my alma mater of Bowdoin College in Brunswick, Maine. And I've always found these topics interwoven. There's really nothing that I've studied in my life that I haven't found to have a relevance to other things. I began being very interested in words, for example, when I was quite young. I was that child that used to wander down Main Street with an enormous LL Bean tote bag full of books from the children's section of the Merrill Memorial Library. Probably more books than my little body could actually handle. And not only would I read these books once, but I would read them repeatedly until by the end of not that much time, I had read most of the children's section and moved on to the adult section. And I would read almost anything. But my favorites were generally fiction and novels and children's novels. And this is because it all revolved around the story. And for me, it's always all around the story. This is what has enabled me to continue to have a passion for the practice of medicine and the practice of writing and the practice of communicating and the practice of living. And for me, Radio Maine is the opportunity to do something that I just love, and that is talking with people and learning their stories and understanding how they communicate and understanding how we relate to one another. This is something that not everybody has the chance to do. I have the chance to do it as a doctor with the patients and my colleagues that I work with, and also now, again, with Radio Maine and the podcast that we do with the Portland Art Gallery artists. We don't all have the chance to do this in our everyday lives. We're very busy. We can't spend half an hour on a conversation oftentimes. So when I bring people into the Radio Maine studio or I interact with them through our distance-based interviews, we're able to spend time that feels precious. And I know it's precious time to you. So when you listen to us or you watch us, I know that you're giving us space in your life that is as precious as the space in the artist's life or my life. And we really appreciate that. So that is the ongoing gratitude. The other thing I've been grateful for, in addition to my dogs, is the love of my family. One of the things that I'm able to do every week as a result of Radio Maine is to share an interesting experience with my parents that I would not otherwise have. My parents are probably my earliest and biggest supporters. My mom read everything that I ever wrote and now sends it back to me in scanned form via email. My father kept one of my earliest print articles on his wall in his office for decades and recently gave it back to me after he retired. And now they watch the Radio Maine or listen to the Radio Maine podcast every week, and they give me feedback. So my mother, a retired teacher, and my father, a retired physician, are often sending me their thoughts about the artists themselves, or about abstract art that they've seen on the walls behind us, or about a process known as encaustic, which is something that I had never really heard of, and neither had my parents. But they're as equally fascinated again by the stories of these artists and where they came from, whether they're artists who had other professional careers, whether they came from large families, whether they're non-artists, say a physician who just loves art, or whether they're interior designers, whether they're artists or non-artists or interior designers. It's really something that my parents and I have connected over, because in the end, it really doesn't matter what your academic background is or your professional background is. You can bond over shared experiences. And for me, Radio Maine is really about that. It's about shared experience. It's about shared experience and the creative spirit, and how this has all contributed to resilience, and how the human story is really one that is replicated over and over and over again. And it's a story about communication. It's how we communicate with our friends, with our colleagues, with people we know, with people we don't know. It's about the words that we speak, but it's also about, a small gesture. It's about a pause or a silence in the communication. It's about how we communicate over the airwaves, doing remote interviews. It's about how we communicate with our pets. Actually, Shark and Newt are being very well behaved right now, but very sweet. She knows exactly how to communicate with me, as she gives me a little lick on my cheek for those of you who are just listening. And Radio Maine is really about that. If you wonder why it is that as a doctor and a leader in a healthcare system during the pandemic has taken the time to do a podcast about the creative spirit, it really is all about the ability to communicate in a different way, in a different setting, and learn different things from different people. And it is something that I have been profoundly grateful for over the past year. So I appreciate your taking the time to listen to me today and to listen to all the conversations that I have and will continue to have with artists and other creative spirits. This is truly a unique opportunity that I have been presented with, and I thank the Portland Art Gallery. I thank my wonderful husband, Kevin Thomas, for producing this radio show. And I thank Shark and Newt for every week being as quiet as they possibly can be as little dogs who watch people walking by on the island and really feeling like they should bark while we were recording these podcasts. This is kind of a joy, a wonderful joy that has emerged out of a strange couple of pandemic-ridden years, which as a physician I have experienced on the front lines. So I really hope that it has brought you as much joy as it has brought me. And I hope you will continue to join us regularly on Radio Maine. And I hope you'll reach out and let us know what you think of the artists that you'll see on our Radio Maine episodes. Let us know what you think of the art. There's really no wrong answer here. We're all just learning and communicating and being human and enjoying the life that we have now. Thank you very much. I am Dr. Lisa Belisle, and this is Radio Maine.